Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Our Father's Note. As always, we're so glad that you took the time out of your busy schedule to spend the evening with us. I am your host, Mr. Lionel Nelson. Of course, y'all should know that by now. But before we go any further, listen, I have to give a God bless happy Father's Day to all of our fathers out there in this broadcast world, broadcast land. I have you on referred to it. And I just pray that today that you will celebrate it as the king that you are. It's awesome. And in addition, I want to extend to all of you prayers. I want to extend prayers to all of the children who are celebrating this day on behalf of their father who may have transitioned. And we want you to know that our hearts of comfort are extended to you. I'm definitely one of them. I know exactly how that feels, and I can tell you, I well, it's a new experience for me, So my heart can only goes out for those of you who have, for whatever reason, you no longer have your father in your presence many years ago. And I'm new to this here, and I'm gonna be very honest and transparent. It's hard for me to see even now to still yet to see pictures of my father and just to see him doing what he loves to do, and that was to serve God. And I'm sure that a lot of you that you definitely feel the very same way. But I want to give a God bless shout out to all of you who are watching here. Just how about let us put in the chat, let us know that you're watching. Just say Happy Father's Day to us or something. Let us know you're here. Even while you're there, please share this page, share this broadcast tonight because it's going to be awesome. I guarantee you that. But before we go any further, listen, if you either you're watching through Facebook or you may be watching on our YouTube channel, look, we're 11 subscribers away from reaching our next milestone of 1,000 subscribers. Only 11. Can you all help us by subscribing, please? If you have not subscribed, if you're not a subscriber to the Father's Note channel, listen, I am encouraging you, go over there, subscribe. While you're there, like, comment, share. Just give us the whole, not 9 yards, 10 yards, because we need it all, okay? And just be a help to us. And listen, also, I want to say this as well. I should have been more prepared for it. I do have the Fathers Are Essential shirt still for you. Hey, look, they could be late after Father's Day gift, right? Okay. If I had a picture of it, I would show you too. But they're great shirts. Some of our viewers, you're accustomed to it. You've seen it. And I still have a whole lot in stock that is for you. So, hey, listen, I am ready to do this. As you all know, our topic tonight is the making of a great father. And as I stated, we know that today is Father's Day. And what we desire to do through this broadcast tonight is to share information that will continue to produce great fathers. Listen, we don't want to deal with the negative. We know we have fathers out there. They are struggling with their fatherhood. They're struggling with their manhood. But we are believing God tonight and praying that something will be said tonight that one little answer, that one little word, message, or whatever it may be, would help them to write their walk to write their walk in their fatherhood. Well, tonight, though, I have a astounding gentleman that is going to be our guest tonight, that is going to help us to dive into this conversation about the making of a great father. His name is Bishop Raymond Williams. He resides in Tampa, Florida. He is married to his lovely wife, Miss Carrie Williams. Now, for those of you who might be super religious, if y'all feel that picture, they just having too much fun, as a married couple, well, I got this one here for you, okay? Is that for the real super religious people, y'all want our leaders to be all deep and everything, so there you go, okay? But anyway, again, they've been married. I got to go back to the other picture because I like the other picture better. Yeah, they've been married for 29 years. They'll be married 29 years as of October of this year. They are the parents of 5 children, ranges from the ages from 29 to 33. He has been in ministry for 23 years. He is the pastor of he's the founding pastor of Forbidden to Fall Ministries, where has been pastoring for 20 years. And also, I want to add that he has a daily Facebook Live broadcast that he does every day. Now, he can correct me on this if I'm incorrect on this, but he does this every day. It's entitled Inspiring Transformation, Adding Values to Lives Globally. And without any further ado, I want to welcome my guest tonight, none other than Mr. Bishop Raymond Williams. God bless you, man.
God bless you, brother. How you doing, man?
Man, I am feeling awesome, man. I am feeling awesome. I'm just glad to be back in the saddle right now, man, because, I miss doing this, but I'm grateful to, that God has given us this platform, especially to come in contact with men such as yourself, all right? So before we get into the questions and whatever, do you have anything you want to say before we get started?
I just, first of all, want to echo what you said to all of the men out there, all the fathers, all of the grandparents. Just happy Father's Day to all of you. I definitely share your sentiments in sharing your love with those who have parents that have deceased and gone on to be with the Lord or what have you. Happy Father's Day to you. We're praying for you. And then I also want to say to you, brother, thank you for this opportunity. It is extremely humbling. I realize nowadays you got to be careful who you allow on your platform. You might have to fix stuff later on. And so for you to trust me with this opportunity is humbling. It really is. I respect you. I admire you. You're a phenomenal man of God. I spent some time in your presence, brother. You are a man's man. And so I just want to salute you for putting this on and for giving me an opportunity to be here. So thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Well, I'm glad that you accept the invitation. Absolutely, man. So, hey, let's get into this because I want you to have as much time as you possibly can to really unwrap this and to serve it to all our brothers out there. So my first question I would like for you to do is to share with us, what are the attributes of a great father?
So that's a good question. As I thought about that question and just kind of thought through, some of the things that might be some good attributes. One of the things I thought about was patience.
Oh, wow.
And I thought about patience because I took that personal. When I was raising my children when they were very, very young, especially when it seemed like I had more patience before I had gotten saved. Once I had gotten saved, I don't know what happened to that patience thing. Like, that was not part of the fruit of the Spirit when I got saved, right? I had to wait until they offered that, if you will, because at least let my children tell it. But I was really, really an impatient man. And I think patience is a great attribute of a good, great, growing father, to be patient with his children, especially to be patient with his sons.
Wow.
And again, I speak from experience. I think sometimes we can have a little less patient with our male children than we can our female children. And I don't know why that might be. Let my boys tell it. It's because my daughter got special privileges. But I just really think that there's a connection between a father and a daughter that we tend to coddle them a little more. Mm-hmm. And we tend to want our boys to just grow up, just get up, take it, suck it up, take it like a man and deal with life. And I think for me, I learned earlier on in parenting, I actually learned later that earlier on in parenting, I was pushing my children a little bit too far, too fast. I wasn't allowing them to grow and allowing them to make their share of mistakes. And so I was a very impatient man, and God had to train me patience over time. And I think a lot of good, great fathers, at least I know several great fathers who struggle in that attribute of patience. I think another attribute is really true unconditional love.
Now, hold on before you go to the next one. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I have to. Because
go ahead.
It's important that we unwrap that word patience. So if you don't mind, can you share with us an example of how you had to learn patience?
Yeah, that's good. Let me take it from my sons and my daughter, since I brought both of them into the equation. So when my kids were young, I wasn't allowing them to get to know who God is for themselves. I didn't give them the space so that they can grow into their relationship with God. And I was just forcing my relationship on them, saying, hey, this is what you need to do. And I think as a father, my job was to guide them and lead them towards God, and then allow them to have their own experiences with God. And when they didn't show the level of experience and the level of passion for God that I thought they should have, I became very impatient with them. And I think I frustrated their walk with God. And I think my whole family paid the price for that for many years. And it took us a long time to get to a space to where they're finally now wanting to serve God, and they were finally ready to give their heart to God. And now I think they're doing wonderful, but it was just the struggle and the stress that we had getting to that place. Because for me, I was a very dominating, very controlling man. And I did not have patience with them.
So let me ask you this then. Okay, so what was your conversation like with them? Or what was it that you did? Because they had to see a change in you in that area. And so therefore, how was your approach to that?
That's a good question. You know, there's one particular evening that comes to me very clear. So as I was stating, I just thought that I was just cramming the Bible down their throat. I was just, hey, you need to be saved. That's no good for you. This is no good for you. I remember back in the late 90s, man, early 20s, somewhere along in there. Actually the early 20s, right after I had gotten saved. And so one particular night, they had there was this whole thing that went on with Snoop Dogg, right? Mm-hmm. And he was on television, and they had these awards going on. And you know, when you get saved, that stuff just doesn't faze us anymore. We're done with that.
Right.
So I had pushed them so far because everything was sin, everything was wrong. You shouldn't listen to this, you shouldn't do that. So I took an approach one night. It had to be the Holy Spirit. So they had this thing on, and the kids, I found that they were watching it behind closed doors.
Right.
So I turned the music up really loud. Say, hey, y'all get in here in my room. And they're freaking out now. They're trying to figure out what's going on. What did I just miss? So I said, we're gonna watch this together. We're gonna chill. And they said, are you sure, Dad? I said, yeah, we're gonna chill. So we're watching it, and it's bananas, right? The ladies are up there, they barely got any clothes on. It's going bananas. My kids are looking at me. They can't enjoy it because they're trying to figure out where I am with all this. So after the session, after Snoop did his thing and all these people did their thing, I asked my kids, my boys, I said, guys, let me ask you a question. How do you believe that might glorify God? The whole room got still, because for the first time, I had involved them into a conversation versus beating them upside the head. Wow. And I was asking them about their opinion of something. So my boys were like, well, I don't really think it does. I just like it, Dad. I said, okay, so do you think this lady up here, you know, half dressed, is appeasing to you? Well, no, Dad, but, and I welcome their comments. I welcome their suggestion. And so from there, we just really started building conversations over the years about the things that they indulged and they did not indulge in. And so after long after that, I became a pastor, and I found it very important to involve them in the conversation, even when I didn't agree, or even if what they might present, I felt like it might not have lined up with scripture. It was my job now as a father to lure them into conversation so that I can guide them towards the water rather than drive them towards the water.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that in a second, because that's something I had to learn as well. And again, you know, when it used to be when I pull up, you know, I hear the music going on in the house or whatever. Then the minute, you know, I walk in the door, everything get quiet. Nobody got nothing to say. So, you know, one day I just walked up to him. I said, well, listen, if you can play it when I'm not here, I don't mind you playing it when I'm here. Just respect my house and just make sure when you play it, I don't hear it. So I learned, you got to let them, you have to just let them be them. And as long as we as fathers are doing, as the scripture says, to train them up, to instill in them. And I think what's even more important to that is that we have to be that example to them as to what we want them to be. But again, in addition, just because we're excited about Christ, especially when we're young, we done been doing this thing on, that may not be their method, that may not be their time. So at times, again, we have to use patience and then trust that not what we have just only what we have taught, but that when it comes to the word of God, that it's going to do exactly what it says it is going to do.
It's interesting that you said that. So I was having a leadership session with my leaders a few weeks ago, and my youngest daughter, Keena, she was on the floor sharing some information with all the leaders. She made a statement. When she made that statement, she proceeded to go on, and like you stopped me, I had to stop her. I said, whoa, hang on. We need to give me a minute to comprehend what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
She said, just because it's your passion, don't make it my passion.
Wow.
And the way she laid it out there was like, wow. And now having this conversation, you're so true that just because Christ and walking with the Lord at a certain level is my passion, doesn't necessarily mean, it doesn't mean that walking with the Lord isn't their passion. It just means that my passion isn't necessarily their passion at that level.
Right.
And I had to learn to be patient until they ran in, because it was my experiences that brought me to that level of passion. It was the things he brought me through. And I had to remember and remind myself, Raymond, they have not come through near as what you've come through. So their testimony is so much different than yours. And I had to allow them their space to grow.
I'm going to give another example for the listener audience as to what we're saying, where we're talking about that we have to be patient, with that, what we are praying and hoping and believing for our children. And I have my youngest son, he's a musician. And so I was like fanning through, I saw something where it's that he had posted something on IG that came into my notification. So I looked at it, opened it up, and I'm like, wait a minute. I says, is this James? It can't be James, right? So I played the video. I mean, lo and behold, that's my son. He done became a rock star, He out there, he got his head going, man. He played bass, and he just going at it, so I thought it was so funny. My wife and I both laughed, but I called him up on it, and I told him, I said, son, I see, and I made fun of it. I made light of it. I said, so you're a rock star right now, and so he laughed or whatever. So, we talked about it, and he shared with me his experience and how he got to that place and what have you. So at the end of the conversation, I told him, I said, well, son, this is your life. This is your choice. The only thing that I ask you to do, I say, just make sure that you put God before everything. Don't forget God. And I left it like that because he was raised up in the church, man. He learned in the church. But if that's what he desires to do, that's the path he chose to do, then so be it. But like you say, I'm patient that word of God that was instilled in him, it is going to manifest, bro.
Yeah.
It's going to come to pass, And so, and again, in addition, the same as God does with us, I just continue to express my love to him, that I love him regardless, or wherever place he's at, I'm going to love him. He knows that no matter what, his father is there, not necessarily supporting the rock thing, but I'm there to support him because he's my son. So
absolutely. My oldest son and I think if there was a struggle in a relationship, it was between he and I. The cool thing is we never fought. We never had any bitterness between us. It was just trying to make that connection between the two of us.
Right.
Where he would trust me enough to open up and say, Dad, here's what's going on in my life. And so for many years, he and I struggled in that area because I didn't know how to support the things that mattered to him. And I think if I had to say another attribute, I think I'd change. I was going to say love, but I think I would also say support. or
Mhm.
supportive would be. And I love what you just said. I may not necessarily support you here,
Right.
but I am supportive to you. And so I think it's how we support them
Right.
that's important. And I think when they know, look, dad doesn't approve of this, this isn't his cup of tea, and I
Mhm.
know why. However, he's not making me feel condemned as a result of my choice. He is allowing me to follow my path, and at some point trusting that I'll run into God. And that whatever choices I make, then he's going to love me through those choices, irregardless, knowing that I got to man up and deal with the consequences or the reward thereof.
That's it, man. That is
Yeah.
it. That is it, man. That's
Yeah.
that's great, man. Supportive. So hey, if we're helping you all out there, if we're helping you, please let us know in the chat. All right, just put a comment, say something to the brother, let him know, give him a thumbs up or something, let him know he on it, man. That's good. Supportive. What else you got for us as far as another attribute of a great father?
So, like I said, I think love is definitely one of the attributes that a father has to have, and we would say, okay, duh, but I think sometimes when it comes to parenting, especially if we're parenting more than one child, sometimes that love that we express towards our children can be so watered down and so fickle. And at least again, I'm going to speak from experience. I've always loved my family. I love them deeply, but I think there was times when I was growing as a believer and as a man and as a father, I went about showing that love the wrong way. Sometimes my love was abusive. I thought that what I said was best for you. And while it might have been best, it was served on a trash can lid. So while it might have been cheesecake and it might have been the best steak, a nice piece of salmon, you like how I plugged that in there? While it might have been a beautiful meal, the way I was serving it was so abusive.
Wow.
You know, my tone was harsh. Like I said, I was a very controlling man. And maybe before we log off, maybe I'll share an experience with you where God really broke control off of my life. And I've never gone back to trying to control anything. He's in total control. So I think for a father, one of the greatest attributes we can have is the love for our children. One of the reasons I say that, because as fathers, we really are called to mimic the love of Christ,
Right.
the love
Right.
of our Father. And if that's the case, then every interaction with our children should be an interaction of God's love at the same measure in which God loves us. Now, we may not necessarily make 100 because we're not God, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be aiming towards that 100 in every interaction. And when we blow it, we acknowledge it and we say, hey, I need to clear this up and I need to get this straight so that I can make that 100 mark at some point in the relationship with my son or my daughter. I think the final thing I would say to that question, if I had another one, would be consistency.
That's good.
Consistency.
That's
I
good.
think consistency is a great attribute. It's probably one of the strongest attributes we can have, because sometimes we'll start well and then for some reason we drop off the planet, especially with fathers who may be co-parenting. Sometimes consistency can really be a booger, and not knowing that lack of consistency is, while that child might be expressing love in your midst and may never tell you how they feel, there could be a disconnect and there could be some kind of distrust building in the heart of that child towards that father, because we're not being consistent in their life. We're not showing up and being consistent in our encouragement, consistent in the commitments that we're making towards our children. And so I believe that consistency is another large attribute of a great father.
But I want to go back to the love.
Okay.
I want to go back to that because it was something that you said that triggered this thought. We as fathers too can have the tendency to love our sons, our daughters from a place of where we are at.
That's good.
Where that I feel though, it is important that we love them from a place of where they're at. Why?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
That's good.
what we may think is love, they may not be receiving it as love. So this is going back to where it's that we need to have these conversations as to understand where that child is so that we can love them where they're at.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that. Especially that piece that a lot of times it's like a marriage. You know, we will give our spouse what we want versus what they need.
Whatever they need, right?
Yeah.
That's
So I'm doing this and I'm buying you shoes, or I'm doing this for you. I'm taking you to the ball game, not stopping for a moment to realize or to discern, is this what my son wants? Is he playing sports because that's what I want him to do?
That's good.
Is she in dance recitals because that's what I want her to do?
Mm-hmm.
Or have I taken time to love them right where they are? And if they never go to sports, can I love them? If she never becomes a world star dancer, if they never make a B, can I love them for the C that has become their best?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Bro.
You know, I'd like to recommend something as well. I don't know. I haven't done the research, so I don't know if there's a child's version of this book. There may be, and I'm just not aware of it. But there's a book called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman for every marriage. I believe personally that book will serve for every relationship, period. I believe that book will serve with a father and his children, because that book will show you even how to discern the love language of your child so that you can start giving those love. Of course, you know, it talks about love languages of touch and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So, of course, we discern good touch, bad touch, those type of things. Right. But I just believe that as we get to know our children's love languages, what presents love to them, I think that takes us into a deeper intimacy with our children.
Man, you dropping some nuggets, bro. You dropping some nuggets. What's the name of the author again?
Gary Chapman, The 5 Love Languages. There may be I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there may be a student version of that book. But the book is geared towards married couples, The 5 love languages. And it talks about, and it shares with you and teaches you how to experience and how to discover your spouse's love language so that you've got greater cohesive. You'll find that you have more than one love language, but you will have a dominant love language. I believe that book will serve as well for parents and children, helping them to understand how to communicate and relate to their children's love language, because children have a love language as well.
Y'all hear that? You hear that, fathers? You hear that? You can't be so busy. You think that and I'm going to say it this way. I'm going to sum this up this way. Yes, you're home. You're providing. You're being a provider, protector. But I'm going to say this to you, and this is something that I've learned. Do not, whatever you do, whatever you can, do not become or do not be an emotional absent father. Because any father that is in the home, but you have no connection with your family, i.e. your wife, your children, though you're there, they know who daddy is, they know who father is, whatever. But if you have no relationship other than the fact that they know they have a father in the house, you are emotionally absent. I want to say that. That's
great. That's, you know, brother, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of our program by saying this, but I'm going to just throw a little nugget out there.
Come on.
One of the greatest things we can give to our children is us, man. As fathers, just being present. Turn off the TV, get rid of the cell phone, cancel those business meetings. You don't have to be at the revival. You know, so often there's so much geared towards married couples, right? You tell the wife, hey, you don't need to go to revival. You don't need to go to all the church meetings. You need to be home with your husband. And husband, you don't need to be at work all the time. You need to take care of your wife. Well, father, we need to make sure that we're making a great investment in our children. We need to sometimes, listen, I'm a firm believer. I made up in my mind when I was working, sick days that they gave me wasn't for days I was sick. Those were days that God had blessed me with, and I'm taking them days when I'm not waiting till I get sick to get paid to be off with my kids. We need to be willing to take time out of the office. Listen, if you're going on a business trip, take your son with you. Put him in the hotel while you're in the meeting and tell him you sit here and chill out. Take him to the meeting with you, especially if you own your own company.
Come on. Come on.
Don't try to force your business on him.
Wow.
But that's an opportunity for him to see you at work and then turn around and be with you over lunch and dinner or out skiing or swimming at the pool. Spend time with them children, man. Can't stress it enough.
If we don't, somebody else or something else will.
Now.
So then what do we want them to be exposed to? What are we modeling? That's what I call them. We modeling the way. If they are able to see us in, let's say, our place of worship in that area in which that how we function. And so we want them to grow up and be men. We want them to grow up and be women of character. But if we don't expose them to it, how else could they learn other than what they see on television? And we know today what we see on what's on the television, the movies, it just ain't working. We got a question here. It says that let me put the question up here real quick. At times, kids can really go left and truly take parents through a lot. How as a father can you make the decision not to give up on them? You want to take that question, bro?
That's a really good question. I tell you what, I'll let you start the question if you like, only because I want to just make a comment to something that I saw somebody write here before that comment goes away. So brother named Chemo writes in the comment section, he says, I'm working on rebuilding a relationship that I broke with my girls. Brother, let me say this. First of all, that was a bold statement. Yeah. It took a lot of courage to put that out. So I want to commend you for that, sir. Absolutely. We're praying with you. We're in agreement. Brother, that's a real man right there.
Yes,
who can acknowledge where he has broken something in his girls' lives or his children's lives and then say, I'm fixing that thing. I'm putting things back in their proper order. I just want to say hats off to you, brother.
Yes, sir.
And man, that's some courage. So congratulations to you.
Okay, so we're going to come back to Kerry, right? Okay. So he also writes, he said, my girls lost respect for me that I've been fighting to regain. Okay. Let me take that.
Okay.
Let me take that. And I'm going to say this because you had already given this attribute as the making of a great father. One word, bro, Mr. Lewis, continue to be consistent with your effort to regain that relationship with your daughters. Just continue. I know it's tough. I know that without a shadow of a doubt that you scratch your head sometimes that don't they see my effort? Don't they see that I want to make time with them? I want to love on them where they're at. But it seems that no matter what, whether or not there's somebody's in their ear or they've just established this ill feeling toward me. I wish I could take it away, but I can't. I can't do this by myself. But you know what? Keep doing it by yourself. Continue to be consistent. Don't feel that I'm going to say this too, don't even think that you have to continuously speak to it. Just love them from the place of where you're at.
Yeah.
We have no control over how a child may feel about them. Something drastic, something tragic may have happened that may have turned them against us. Even those things, something may be something that we don't have any control over. But no matter what you do, everything that was said here, that Bishop Williams has already shared, continue to be patient with them. Continue to be supportive with them, even if they feel that they make you feel like they don't want your support. Continue to love on them. Continue to be consistent with them. Is it tough? Oh, yes, it is, sir. But remember, man, God never intended on us to be control over someone else's will. That's why he made us free moral agents. You may not can control their actions, but you can control yours, bro. And here you have two brothers, I can tell you right now, that is standing with you and behind you and supporting you, that relationship that you are yearning for and praying and believing God with your daughters, that relationship will be restored. I'm going to say this and I'm going to let my brother respond. You know why I can say that? Because that's a place where I am at right now.
Wow.
And even though I'm there, even though I can say whatever, I can be those things that my brother said not to be, but I'm strive to be patient. I love on them regardless. It don't matter. Act whatever kind of way you want to act. Do whatever you feel you need to do to avoid me. It's not going to change how I feel about you, because in the end of the day, God is going to hold me accountable for my actions. So that's where I'm at, bro. Go ahead.
You know, I just wanted to second what you just said. I totally agree with you 100%. I was there at one point. I broke trust with my daughter. She didn't talk to me for almost a year as it relates to being open with me. With her first child, my grandson, when she got pregnant, she had a meeting with me. My daughter and I had this thing where if we needed to have a deep conversation and she really needed to just get some stuff out and really talk about something, she'd say, Dad, can we go have ice cream? Anytime she asked, could we go get ice cream, just the two of us, I knew there was something on the table we needed to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
She asked me one night, Dad, can we go get ice cream? So we went and we got ice cream. We went over and sat in the park. And I said, what's on your mind, baby girl? Brother, she just started crying. I couldn't figure out what the last thing I was thinking about is I'm pregnant. That
Wow.
girl looked at me and said, Daddy, I'm pregnant. Bro, I hit the fan. No, the devil's A's. I'm sorry, sweetie. Yes. I hit the fan. No, I need the ones out of the box that I use. I hit the fan and she got so afraid and she just shut down on me. She shut down. I broke that confidence. I lost that trust in her because she came to me because she needed me at the time versus me now throwing off at her, pushing her away. And it took a long time. It took almost a year before she would ever tell me anything else. And it was painful for me because I didn't realize that I had messed up until after I had messed up.
Wow.
And so, you know, once we reestablished that, we just built upon it. It was beautiful. So I just say all that to say to Chemo and other men like Chemo, again, as my brother just echoed, remain faithful, remain consistent, and God will provide. Yes, I give you my word on that. He did it for me. He will do it for you.
You have another one. We coming to you, Kerry. We coming to you. I love how Mr. Lewis said. He says that it's never failure as long as you don't give up. Amen, bro. You already there. You're already there. And we thank Kerry for saying, Mr. Kimmo, we are praying for the mending of the relationships. Absolutely. Let's see what Mr. Jones says. As a father, I feel I'm in a catch-22. I have a demanding career that allows me to provide. However, that career keeps me away from home, which inevitably doesn't allow quality affirming time with them. At times, I feel like I have failed them. Whoa.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big one right there, because you're caught between having to provide for your home and be faithful and committed to your place of business so that you can continue to provide. And then you've got to make sure that you invest in your family, in your children. For me, this is for me. For me, I made a decision years ago when my children were young. I made a decision that there was certain jobs I was not willing to do should they keep me away from the time I needed to invest with my children. I made that decision that no matter how much money, if it meant I had to downsize in the car, if it meant I had to downsize in what size home we had, if it meant that I needed to cut out cable, whatever I felt I needed to go to work because I had whatever responsibilities, then I found a way to minimize those responsibilities so that I could keep my commitment to my children because I understood that they were growing. Bro,
right.
I look back at my grandson right now, my oldest boy, grand boy, that boy just turned 14 years old. And when he answers the phone, he sounds like two grown men at
Mm.
the same time. Hey, Pawpaw. And I think to myself, where did the time go? And so
Mhm.
there was just certain things I wasn't willing to miss. I wasn't willing to compromise
Right.
because my first responsibility, my first duty was to my children. So, and I know it might sound easier than done because I'm on this side, you're on that side,
Right.
but I would suggest and encourage you to consider the things that you're going to be forfeiting if you do not make certain sacrifices in this hour. And lastly, if we make those sacrifices now, we've got to believe that because God will honor those sacrifices, he will bless us in the back end of that.
I love that. And my response, excuse me, is to Mr. Jones. I'm going to echo what you're saying again. The question is, you have to ask yourself, Mr. Jones, is it worth really that job? Even though it's making good money, you provide is what you utilize it to provide. Is it really worth the sacrifice of your family?
Yeah.
You got to make time for them. My oldest son, he has a very, very high-end, stressful job where he's constantly traveling over the states. But even now, every year, I guarantee you, he takes off a month from that job and he spends that time with his family. They go on vacations, they travel, they visit different states, or wherever they go get a resort. He make it his business that he is not going to miss any time with his children or with his family. So it's a choice in the decision. Basically, what we're saying to you, Mr. Jones, that you're going to have to really assess and make the decision for yourself. And I'm going to ask that you remove the phrase, I'm in a catch 22. Nope. It's just a matter of you just making a tough decision, a decision that is tough, but you just got to make that decision. As a matter of fact, ask your children what they will want. Ask your family what they need from you, more so than what you may think that you are giving them. He says this here. He said they are now 20 and 26, but it's a struggle to connect. You have to keep going forward. I don't like to use the word. I'm gonna use the word what I like to use because I don't like to use the word try. You have to keep striving. You have to keep striving. Okay, so let's go back to, hey, listen, y'all keep coming with the questions. We love it. We love it. We appreciate it. And then we're gonna get back on track, Mr. Williams. Okay, let's answer Ms. Williams' question here. At times, kids can really go left and truly take parents through a lot. How, as a father, can you make the decision not to give up on them?
I think the answer is in the question. I just make the decision to not give up on them. It doesn't take a lot of thought. You just have to be disciplined enough and focused enough to understand that you're the parent, they're the child.
Right.
And you don't get to dictate to me my love towards you. You don't get to control my response towards your behavior. I make that decision. I decide that I'm going to love you regardless of what you do, regardless of what you become with your life. I decide I'm going to love you. You don't hold the power to turn my love off. I have made a decision that because I'm his and I am in the audience of one, now I might have to pray more. I might have to find a threshing floor somewhere. I might have to turn that plate down a little bit more. It might take more sacrifice. It might not be easy, but I've made a decision then I'm going to love you, whether you're gay, whether you're straight, whether you're cussing, whether you're smoking dope, whether you traveling the world as an evangelist. I make the decision that you are my child. I'm his child. You're my child. And because he loves me, see, you don't get to see the foolishness and the dumb stuff that God loves me through. Fortunately for me, I know your dumb stuff. So I'm just going to love you. I'm going to position my life where nothing you do takes me by surprise. I'm not going to act surprised. I'm not going to flip my lid. It is what it is. You'll come through this. We are going to get through this because we family.
Again, one of the attributes of the making of a great father is to be consistent. Man, I love what you just said. And being, again, transparent. That is exactly what I am going through right now in my home. As I converse with my wife, no, I am not going to respond the way that they expect me to respond. I'm not going to say what they expect me to say. I am not going to do none of those things, even if I have to be quiet, hold my peace, and just believe God that he's going to change, be consistent with my love. If they call me, I'm still going to answer the phone. If they text me, I'm still going to respond back. No, I am not going, like you say, I am not going to allow them to dictate my reaction, my response, because I'm a great father. Can I just pat myself on the back? Just for that.
Now, you know, they are waiting on a different response.
Yes.
So that they have something against us to say, this is why.
Man, I hope this helps somebody. I hope this is helping. If this is helping you, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the comments. He said it. Hey, Mr. Jones said, he said, that's my problem. I can't hold my peace. You have to hold your peace. You
got to settle down, Jones.
You cannot respond to everything that they do. You got to see and don't see. You even though no matter how much that pain hurts you, and you know what? You have all the right. You have all the right to take an action. You have all the right to put your foot down because no, this is my house. I am the man in my house. No, you cannot act that way in my house. It's unacceptable. But let me tell you something. You don't have to do that. Just be calm. And as long as they know, and let me tell you something. I'm going to say this here, and then I'm going to move on. Let me tell you something. They know what you stand for. They already know. But you got to understand that you're dealing with a spirit here that wants to prove you wrong, that your testimony is not what you say it is. You got to understand that, especially, listen, even in addition with the society, with everything that's going on, the enemy does not want great fathers to continue to stand as great fathers. Everyone that he can pick off and cause us to think that we're not doing our best, we're not loving, we're not caring, we're not supportive. And as long as we respond to that nonsense, guess what? We're making what they say the truth and what we profess a lie.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Sometimes, let me say this too. I often use this analogy in marriage when it comes to the spouses, but I think this is fitting to use with our children. Sometimes God allows our children to be a mirror for us. In other words, their behavior is reflecting back to us where we need to die. Sometimes God will let them act a fool, will let them do certain things just to reflect back to us. Look, Raymond, you need to die in that area. Why are you still alive in that area? What's in you that their behavior can use as a trigger to make you so angry?
Preach, bro.
Because here's how I look at it, right? I'm not saying we don't get angry. I'm not saying we don't get disappointment. But here's what I am saying. If you go down to the local supermarket and you get an orange, and you stand up in the store and squeeze the orange, all you're going to get is orange juice.
Right.
You take the orange and throw it on the floor and you stomp on the orange, you're going to get orange juice. You throw it out in the middle of traffic, no matter how you abuse that orange, you're going to get orange juice. Watch this now, if the Spirit of God is in us and the fruit of the Spirit is in us, no matter how them children squeeze us, the only thing that's supposed to come out of us is fruit. I didn't say it was going to be easy. I said the only thing that's supposed to come out of us is fruit. Why are those kids able to pull us and stretch us and have us fussing and cussing and angry and tearing up stuff and running the car into the garage? And why?
I told my wife today, I said, babe, I understand exactly what I did to my father. I understand how he felt, what he went through.
Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap.
And I said, well, I must have sown it, so I'm reaping it. Hey, but listen, let's continue. Hey, y'all doing some great comments here. Great comments here. Thank you all so much. Hey, Mr. Lewis, yes. Hey, you got to switch the button up sometimes, man. You got to switch that button up, man. You got to switch that button up. Hey, the next question, of course, we might have already alluded to this, but the question is, can great fathers have flaws?
Oh, wow. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, they can have flaws. I think David was a great father. I really do. You know, when we look through scripture, David was a great father. He laid up an inheritance for his children and his children's children. And, you know, we see that inheritance wasn't just about money and them being able to buy a new car and et cetera, but he left the building materials and all of the things, the financial support for Solomon to be able to build the house and the temple for the Lord. So what he left was spiritual inheritance for his children. But we also see that David was full of flaws. David had great flaws in his life. There was a lot going on in David's life where he just didn't make the mark. I think some of the flaws, one of them, at least for me, could be perfectionism. That's a flaw. We got to be perfect. If we're not perfect, we're not satisfied. If our children are not perfect, we're not satisfied. We're expecting a certain caliber of excellence so much to the degree where no matter what they do, it is never good enough for us. Absolutely. Because we've got this spirit of perfectionism, and it's a flaw of ours. It's something that we need to get. For me, anyway, It was a flaw, and it was something that was tearing up my family, tearing up my children, because everything had to be perfect. Everything had to be just right. You know, let me refer this back to my marriage for a moment. My wife said to me, we have this thing where every few months we sit and we just have some fellowship and we ask each other a question. What do you need from me in this season? I asked my wife that question about 2 years ago. I said, what do you need from me in this season? She looked at me and said, I don't trust you. Wow. I said, wow, that's interesting. Wow. That's interesting. Wow. I said, what do you mean you don't trust me? I'm faithful. I come home every night. What do you mean? She said, that's not it at all. She said, I don't trust that I can be me around you. Ooh. She said, because everything has to be so perfect. And you're going to correct me. I didn't say that right. Everything is so perfect. Ouch. I don't feel like I can meet your standard. Wow. And that was like just hit me right in my gut. And we haven't had that conversation since then. Right. Because I learned what I needed to do. But I think also that serves in our relationship with our children. Right. That sometimes we can have this perfectionism thing going on. And that's a flaw. And we think that, I'm a man of excellence. And really, it's perfectionism, which really is going to sabotage the relationship between us and our kids.
You know, it's interesting that you said that, because that's something that I had to learn too. Here it is, you know, my wife and I, we're raising a total of 8 children. We have 6 in the home. And I was like that. I want everything to be a certain way, this and that there. Then I realized that I'm going to use your word, my perfectionism of certain things had become more of a burden to them, or a spirit of oppression to my children. And so I had to learn the importance is that I said this, is that I never wanted my children to feel that they could not come home, or they was afraid to come home, or they could not be themselves at home. I had to learn how just to let them be themselves and live. Be themselves and live here in the home. My rule was this: don't disrespect mom and don't disrespect the house. They knew what those things that they could not do as far as that would be considered to disrespect the house, such as bring alcohol home, smoke whatever in the house. I'm not saying that they did or didn't. I don't know, because I didn't see them. Or bring profanity, or those things that are. I think the best way to respond is, if you don't see me doing it, then you better not be doing it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
don't do it in my house. But yet, though, as far as I had one son, every time I look around, he was clowning. He was clowning. I mean, he just carried on. And I'm like, son, will you ever grow up? But then I realized that was him. That was his way of living, expressing himself. And I had to learn, no, let me back off. Let me be him. I can show you some pictures. I'm gonna give you an example. So one day, we all here in the house. So he done went and got one of my wife's wigs, put the wig on, got one of my guitars, had on the vest, no shirt. Now he knows I don't like the fellas walking around the house with no shirt on. I just didn't like that. And he had on this vest, and he had this and he just taking pictures, and calling. I'm like, what's wrong with you? But instead of getting angry at him, you know what we did? We all laughed. I just called him, man, you crazy. You crazy. But that's him being himself. So now if I had been a father that, boy, just jumped all on him and can't, I would have destroyed his individuality. I would have destroyed his identity. I would have suffocated him being free to be at home, because listen, this was the only home he knew at the time. So I had to allow them. Let me say one more thing, then I'm going to move on, bro. We cannot raise our children from or through or by one particular pattern or vein, or I'm looking for the right word. Oh my God.
For me, what I learned was I could not raise my children out of my experiences with my parents.
That's good.
That was good for me. Yeah. Yeah. There was, I'm not saying I couldn't take some of the good things that I learned, but for the most part, I had to understand that I had a whole different set of kids, and there was a specific way that I needed to raise them in order for them to come out the way God intended.
Yeah. And as we just got, I get fathers, simply what we're both saying, you gotta lighten up, man.
Yeah.
You gotta lighten up. It is not that drastic. Because I got to the point, this was my thing. Even looking at my rock star son, I told mom, I said, well, at least he ain't on drugs. He ain't out there robbing nobody, gang banging, not dealing with no mama, daddy, mama, baby mama drama, and all these other things. He's not in jail. He's not in prison. Hey, you know what? I'm okay. As long as he's being respectful, conducting themselves and all that, I am okay with that. You just gotta lighten up, dads. Gotta lighten up. Let's go to the next question here. It says so how about tell us, from your perspective, what would you consider to be some of the common challenges that most fathers face?
Oh, wow. There's a couple of things that come to mind when we talk about this question. I think one common fact, I think there's some common things that we can think about, such as financial challenges. right? Being in a good financial space to be able to provide for your children, make sure they got good clothes, they got good college, things of that nature. I think for me, one of the challenges I had, and as I talk to men today, I think another what that same challenge is kind of spreads throughout some of the men that I talk with, and that might be being able to discipline your children in a healthy manner, in a way that sets them up for success and not discourage them.
That's good.
That was the challenge for me.
Okay.
How do I discipline my children in a way that it's necessary, number one, and that is healthy for them, and discipline them in a way that they see me as a loving parent rather than their enemy at this time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
That's where as I'm talking to men today, I'm finding out that men, maybe not all of them are in that same verbiage word for word, but somewhere you can see the residue. This brother's struggling with disciplining his children in a healthy manner.
That's good.
In a manner that's not demeaning, that's not discouraging them, that's not beating down on their self-esteem, that's not overboard, if you will, but in a way that says, hey, I love you, and this is why we're doing what we're doing. And we're going to run this course out, because at the end it's going to, and then after that discipline, to also be able to reinforce that discipline with good, sweet, precious, organic love.
I would say, and to piggyback on what you're saying, maybe this might be a strategy in which that, our fathers who are watching can use, or your mothers who are watching and you want to share it with your husband. One of the things or strategies that I had learned, first of all, when they did something that I did not agree with, that was just totally against the principles and moral beliefs of this kingdom, okay, it's that I would have that conversation with them to get an understanding as to why that was their decision. What was it in them that prompt them to make that choice, or to take that action, or to respond in such a way, okay? However, in getting that understanding, whatever discipline that, first of all, I would talk with them, and then I would let them know, okay, well, we're going to have to take an action, right? So then I would ask them, this is wrong. We don't agree with it. What discipline do you think would be fair for this particular situation, that to make sure that we don't have to ever visit this again? So in essence, what I would let them choose. Okay, hey, no television, no, you can't use the car for a week, or something, whatever it is. That way, if they choose to do it, okay. Now I'm gonna, if they choose to do it, then they have to be willing, understand that's the consequences that they choose for their action, and not coming from you. Now, what was the other alternative? I could put this leather on your rump, and then man, so you can
put that get right on you.
Let me see. We got a comment here. Okay, in my opinion, my purpose was to prepare my girls for this cruel world. That's how I was raised. That's all I know. Preparing them to be successful in the cruel world, and understanding that this world is harsh. Just don't want them to make the same mistakes. You know what I say to that, bro? You got to trust them.
Yeah.
You got to trust them. And that's something that I had to learn with my children. And I would let them know. I said, listen, I trust you. I just don't trust them out there. So, because you got to let them know that. I apologize, bro, if you wanted to respond to that, but you can't, man.
No. Go ahead. You're good.
Yeah, but I think one of the things we got to do too, we got to learn how to trust our children, that they're going to make the right decisions in whatever situation that they're in.
Yeah, and not only are they going to make the right decisions, but they are going to make their share of mistakes as well.
Absolutely.
They're gonna, and that's just part of life.
And
That's the cycle. I think what we do is set the example before them and
Mhm.
give them the tools necessary so that when they make those mistakes, number one, we give them the tools so that when they make those mistakes, they've got something to refer back to say, hey, this is what I need to use now to get myself out of this jam that I've got myself into. And then number two, we're there making ourselves available so that they know that when you mess up and you make a mess of life, I am here to help walk through that mess with you so that you come out on the other end with knowledge and wisdom and etc. So yeah, that's
in,
my response to that.
in essence, don't chastise them for making a mistake. Don't bring condemnation on them for making that mistake. With my children, again, I talk to them about it. I said, then my question I always ask them, okay, what did you learn from it? And I let them tell me what they learned from it. And then we'll work that out, and I would share my wisdom or my thoughts on it. But I never condemn them for it. That's the worst thing you do, because again, you want them to know that and feel that no matter what area they may find themselves in based on a wrong decision, that they cannot come and talk to you without you shoving it down their face. And then another thing that comes to my mind is that stop reminding them of the mistake that they made.
That's good.
Move on from it. Once you address it, don't bring it up again. Don't rehash it. Just keep moving on.
You know, I'll say this one last thing to that, bro. One thing that I learned early on, I never chastised my kids for making a legitimate mistake.
Mm-hmm.
When we dealt with it, when we discussed it and talked about it, once I knew and understood and had the proof that this was a legitimate mistake, I didn't chastise them for that. We talked. I think the chastisement was that they had to hear my mouth about it. I think for them, that was a huge chastisement. But once I found out when you did it again, that wasn't a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So when I knew that things were being done intentionally, we dealt with it accordingly. But I gave them some good coaching. There were consequences, but I didn't chastise them, if you will. I wasn't angry with you, but there are some consequences to this. You know, you run a stop sign by mistake, the consequence is you're going to be ticketed. Mm-hmm. You know, how much is going to be based on your attitude possibly, or how the cops doing that day, but there's a repercussion about that. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. Let me see, Mr. Lewis here. God got it from here. They are adults now. I pray to God that the lessons you taught to them, I guess that's what he's saying, they use. It's hard as a man to let go of that control. But when your children are grown, they are going to go, they're going to go what they choose to do at the end of the day. Absolutely. You got to let them go. You have to let them go, and you have to trust that you, as a father, you did your very best instilling them the necessary tools and information and imparting the necessary wisdom in them that they can make good decisions. Trust me. If you have spent that time with them, they know right from wrong. They know exactly how you think. They know exactly how you're going to feel about a decision that they make. But yet still, though, within themselves now, they're going to make that choice anyway. We all have been there. We all have been there. One last question for you, Bishop.
Yes, sir.
What should the clarion call be to all our fathers today? What is the clarion message for them?
I think for me, I think that the clarion call for all fathers right now would be to lead your children, lead your family, definitely your children, in the path that God would have you to lead them as a father. That's good. Regardless of the backlash that comes behind doing so. That if I had to say anything and kind of drop the mic or close the night off, it would be lead your children in God's path, teach them, bind the laws of God up around their necks so that they have something to remember. They have a way, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. Make sure that they know who Christ is. That might not necessarily mean that you are preaching a sermon to them when they come in from school. That might mean that you are a living epistle. You are a living example. This is what God looks like. This is what Christ looks like. And do that regardless of the backlash that comes behind it. And you will get some backlash. You will get it from friends. You will get it from family. You may even get it from the children trying to lead them in a path that God is wanting you to lead them in. But I just firmly believe that no matter how much time we spend with them, no matter how much money we put on the table, no matter how many vacations we take, no matter what we do with our children, if we're not intentional with making sure that they know who Christ is, that they know that they are being led to the water of Jesus Christ as their foundation, then everything else we did is just sinking sand. Man. And so my clarion call would be to the fathers to lead your family, lead your children towards Jesus Christ, show them who he is, teach them who he is, and then create atmospheres and create opportunities for them to be able to model that and be patient with them along that journey. That would be my call.
Man, that's great information, man. You know, in essence, just do what God would want you to do. Be respectful. Just, you know what? Let me say this. You don't have to try to pretend and walk around like you have an S on your chest and you got a red cape. You're not Superman. You are human, and you're going to make mistakes. But we are praying and believing God that we've said some things tonight that definitely will keep you encouraged to continue to go forward regardless of what, you know. You got this. You got this. So, hey, Bishop, thank you so much, man, for a great show tonight. And we certainly appreciate you. We got to get you back on. You coming back, man. You coming back. Don't worry.
The honor is mine, bro. You are an amazing brother. I really mean that with my heart, man. I love you, Doc. I'm so thankful for our connection. It's rare that you just meet good, precious men that are not in competition. We're just about brotherhood. And so I appreciate you. Would you allow me to just say something to something I just read?
Sure, man. Sure. Go ahead.
So Carrie Williams wrote, she said, what encouragement would you give to a child whose father is not there in their life, but they desire them to be that? So when I read that, I recognized this, that we may not necessarily be talking to children right now, but there may be an adult man. While we've been talking about fathers responding to their children, to that man who has that void in him, you're on tonight and you've got a void in your life and you're longing for your father. You've got a little boy trapped in a grown man and you don't know where he is, or you're trying to make a connection and there's no reach back, or whatever the case is. I want to simply say, be encouraged through this season of your life.
Right.
We're praying with you, we're covering you, we're lathering you in intercession, and we're believing God that if your father is still here on this earth, that God is going to allow you to make that connection at some point in your life. If your father's not here, then we're praying for you. And in both instances, I want to encourage you to allow God to be the father who you always desired. And at some point in your life, God will send you what you need when you need it.
Man, that's great. That's great, man. Thank you so much for responding to that question, Bishop. Again, I just wanted to remind you all, he comes on weekly, every day from, what's your time you come on up, Bishop?
So Monday through Friday at 5:45.
Okay.
5:45 a.m. I'm up every morning at 4 a.m. I'm normally on broadcast about 35 minutes. So we're about 5:45 to somewhere about 6:15, 6:20-ish. Depends on how things are going. So that's Monday through Thursday. We're having a discussion Monday through Thursday. On Friday mornings at 5:45, where we have what's called Friday Fire. And we're having prayer. We're having intercession. We're taking prayer requests. And we're having a great time. So yeah, every morning, 5:45.
Awesome. Hey, Bishop, again. Hey, listen, y'all give some thumbs up for the man of God. He did great tonight, man. So you welcome back. I don't have to clean nothing up.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, bro. I love you, Doc.
Love you too, man. Much love, man. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for all of your comments and everything. Hey, this was an awesome discussion. And again, hey, look, we got to still have the shirts, the Father's Already Sent You shirt. So if you want a shirt for your father or brother, whomever, hey, how about just hit us up in the DM and we'll definitely get back with you, okay? Hey, until next time, we will see you all next week. Same time, same bat channel. We love it. We say good night.